Hey, what's up, guys? So we just got some balance changes. It's going to take a little bit for this video to get live. It'll probably be live later in the evening, Western times. So I'm going to go through this really quick. I don't want this video to take too long. I'm not going to do like any theory crafting in this video. I'm just going to look at the initial unit and be like, yeah, I like it. It's not enough or whatever. Cool change. It's going to kind of be like that. And I'll kind of give the reason why I think it's good and why, or if I think it needs more or whatever, Lilibet's change is really good. I have a little bit. I haven't built her. Just getting more damage on her S3 is nice. Skill Nullifier is really nice as well. And a 50% CR increase helps turn cycle. All really good changes. I'm more inclined to build her now. More likely to deal with like Maid Chloe, because I think there's going to be more Maid Chloes popping around with balance changes, and with the refund ticket, I'm probably going to see more Maid Chloes around, so she's going to be really good for dealing with those. And also you can extinct a unit and have skill nullifier, because usually like in Guild War, Maid Chloe is with 2 high damage threats and she's built really bulky. That's kind of how I think she's best used, and Lilibet will be good to deal with those teams, I think. Lidica, I actually suggested this in my video for her S2. I was letting it dispel. I also suggested putting a soul burn extra turn mechanic on it, but that's whatever. So they just added unhealable to public execution, which is whatever. I mean, immunity is still a problem. So she gained a little bit more utility, but it doesn't really help her do what she wants to do. But it's a 100% chance to dispel, so that's good at least, I guess. What's the reasoning here? Excuse me. Unique and powerful effect of decreasing combat readiness. However, the skill doesn't offer much in ways to contain her enemies, so her effectiveness is minimal in PvP matches. It still is. So they added unhealable, which gets dispelled. People are likely going to bring Montmorency against her anyways, or Destina to bait her. So really, she doesn't really do anything different. She's kind of needs some more. It's kind of trash, to be honest. But whatever. I don't use it for PvP anyways. And if anything, that's another debuff for PvE. So, sure. Besar is a beast now. You could just say that right here. He's going to be really good on a counter set. For sure. Random debuff for 2 turns. That could be sleep. Excuse me. So, yeah. Sleep, stun. Like every debuff is good. Except for like poison and PvP. Literally every debuff is good. Unhealable in certain situations, but Besar encounter built really tanky. It's definitely going to have some use here, I think. And then also, huge chance to decrease attack and hit chance. Very good. I'm not sure what the cooldown of his S2 is. I haven't looked at Besar very much. And then his S3 is just really, really good. Especially if you soul burn it on offense. Like, Besar is pretty nutty. If you have Besar, I would highly recommend making him a priority unit to build. He's insane now. Fiend, oh my god. She's actually nutty now. Like, she has 60% or 66% uptime on an attack buff and a speed buff, right? That's actually nutty. 50% more damage. This thing already hit hard for me on my Fiend's build. Like, I've used Fiend in a couple of my recent Guild War videos, if you want to go look at how much damage she does for me right now. So, her changes are actually insane. I'm likely going to plus 15 Fiend. It's probably going to happen. Um, I've always liked her as a unit. I really liked her kit. Um, the biggest change here, I think, is to her S3. Because really, with her S2, sorry, her S3, like usually you're using it to one-shot snipe something anyway, so the stun really didn't matter. But it's kind of nice now that if you don't get the kill, you still get the stun while stripping buffs. So that would be really nice, especially for like Crow. Like she'll be really good with dealing with Crow. So she's awesome. Yuna is interesting as well. So I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna build her. I'm not exactly sure how her scaling is. Like I've kind of used her a little bit, but like she was more like just level 50, and I used her to see what she did. Um, Her S2 was always really good. I think if they added a extra return mechanic on it, it would be so much better. But that would kind of waste a turn of speed buff for her, so I don't know. The constant combat readiness is pretty cool. And then the always crit on her S3 enables some nuke builds, which is pretty cool as well. So I'm sure you'll be seeing her pop up around YouTube. Parabantha, they just turned her into a weaker version of ML Parabantha. So she's definitely a little bit more relevant now. She's pretty good. I mean, yeah, she's basically a fire like ML Parabantha now, except, you know, she has a manageable percent chance to stun, but you could still run her with Abyssal Crown and basically have yourself a budget Silverblade Aramintha now. That gives us herself an attack buff and grants unhealable. So she's actually pretty good. Like I like this change for her. Assassin Collie is gonna be nutty now. um, like actual nutty. She was already fast as shit, right? And now she gets a speed buff. I don't know the percentage on speed increase, speed buff, speed increase, like if it's 50% or what. If you know what it is, drop in the comments because I'm actually curious. But she is going to lap and lap and lap and do a lot of damage. My Assassin Collie is plus 11, so I will definitely be building her. Time to get back in Wyvern and start farming some nutty gear. It's even possible, like this opens up, like not necessarily a faster Assassin Collie, but like maybe, like since she turn cycles so fast, like you could probably get away with building more crit damage on her. Like maybe not even running speed boots, maybe running speed set attack boots, you know? So it'll be interesting to see how she gets built. Like if you run like an immunity Assassin Collie, you know, just for dizzies and have her on attack boots around, you know, 210 speed instead of 250. She could probably be pretty nutty built like that and do a ton of damage, especially with like Dust Devil or something like that. So, interesting. I'll probably be screwing around with her a little bit. With Pergus, they added HP scaling. We'll just have to see what that scaling is before we know how good he is. Because he could potentially be nutty now. So, yeah. Just have to wait. Armin, it's about fucking time they buffed her. I didn't really read it. I knew about the 10% damage decrease. When that thing's on cooldown. One thing I don't like is she uses this first. So technically you could have her go last in your rotation, but then you're not benefiting from the damage reduction because it's not on cooldown yet. So I don't know. It's interesting. Like she might be able to be used now. I think Flash of Lighters are S2, right? Gives herself a defense buff. Hit buff decrease. I mean, she's still pretty niche, to be honest. 10% damage is nice, but it has to be on cooldown. And that skill heals. So ideally, you want to go on last in your rotation, like I was saying. So you don't even benefit from that 10% damage reduction until turn 2, which is still niche. Crozet is good now. AoE provoke is pretty good. Like, as you all know from Cecelia, I'm going to assume that's max mullet. Because if it goes up to 100%, that's pretty nutty. But, and also marker protection. Like, anytime a unit falls below 50%, it gives them a defense buff. Like, I was actually talking about Crozet with a guildie recently. You know, because he's actually pretty good. People don't really, see how good he is, but this makes him pretty good. Like, he's definitely interesting. I'm not exactly sure what his defense scaling is, like on his S1 and S3, but I don't know. Crozet's definitely viable now. If only they would fix his cringy S3 animation. That's the only thing I really want them to do with him. Kitty Carissa gets an extra turn now. Cool. I'm not too familiar with her because I've never really used her, and I hardly ever run into her. So, I'm not even really going to talk about her. She just reduces cooldown now when she does that. That's pretty cool. Oddly, that's interesting. Like, she's interesting. I don't know if I'm going to build her. She could be decent. Like, if you build her tanky, like, she could actually be a replacement for Crimson Armin if you're losing to Cleaves a lot, but I don't know how her base stats are. So, it's interesting. I don't think she's really going to impact anything. Gunther is interesting too. More damage. Crit, like, he doesn't get crit, and that's actually pretty insane. It's not a unit I'm going to try and build, but, it's pretty cool. So let's hop over to part 2. Hopefully this isn't taking too long. Okay, and this is the changes to artifacts. I'm not going to go through the ML heroes down at the bottom. Justice for All, like, I was kind of thinking, yeah, maybe, but the problem is buffs still overlap. And a lot of those buffs are useless when it's not your turn. So, like, if you have a knight and he gains an attack buff when it's not his turn, like, what's that going to do? Unless you have Elbrus or counter set, or you can't even have Elbrus with it because it's an artifact. So you'd have to run counter set to even benefit from the attack buff. So yeah, if the buffs didn't overlap with the buffs he already has, like, for example, Charles gets his own attack and defense buff, and both of those are on Justice for All. So he could potentially still get no buff, even if the artifact procs. So I think that's pretty stupid. Either they make the buffs come from, buffs that are not on you already, or they make the buffs all useful on turn 2. So, like, when it's not your turn. So, like, having immunity, getting a speed buff to turn cycle, crit damage reduction, or, like, crit buff that really doesn't do anything for you when it's not your turn. Barrier is nice, continuous healing's nice, defense buff's nice, all stuff like that. But a lot of knights already give themselves defense buffs, so I don't know. I don't think it's great. Violet Talisman is actually insane now. Yeah. Does it still grant dodge? Because here it just says increases attack by 3% at the beginning of the turn. It's supposed to be attack and evasion. Like, even on the before. And then it still says each effect can stack up to 10 times. So I think they typoed here. I think it's going to give... Is it going to give 10 attack and 10 evasion? Because if it does, it's nutty. So, I just have to see. Yeah, it doesn't really specify. Noble Oath is actually insane now. It's too bad you can't use Noble Oath on Fire Corvus, because that would be nutty. It's really good. Alexa's Basket. Like, it's better than it was before, for sure. I wouldn't say it's, like, fodder, but one thing you gotta notice, it's 40% each. So you have to land two 40%s when you proc this artifact to get both buffs. So building a unit with no crit chance, using this as, you know, reliable crit is not optimal. I'm not saying it's unusable, but there's a lot of better artifacts out there still. It's very niche, very RNG dependent. Can you throw this on Arbiter Vildred and potentially get revived with greater attack buff and crit buff? Yeah, you can, but I think it's what? Probably about the same chance you're going to get an RNL proc. So, kind of compare those there. Mind you, that's maxed out 40%, so base it's 20 at 15, right? Yeah, so at 15 it'll just be 20, so that's 10% chance to proc both buffs, so keep that in mind. So they're increasing every mage's speed by like 5 to 6, which is pretty cool. It definitely, or 4 to 6, whatever. It's going to help a lot, especially with like Besar. Like, yeah. Steedom, it's going to help with her. More speed is good, right? Like, that's really everything to say about that. And then all this stuff is stuff I've covered in previous videos. So if you want my thoughts on those, then you can go back and check my previous video where I talk about those. I'm kind of annoyed that, like, I got rid of like 5 Violet Talismans, and now the artifact is insane. So that kind of bums me out a bit, to be honest, because I would definitely use it. Oh well. Well, that's my thoughts, guys. If you like this video, you know, toss me a like. You know, give me your input in the comments. If you're new here, subscribe, and have a good one. Later.